her your question and ask it. Because she would love, it always makes a talk easier to give if the audience is engaged in asking questions. Okay, so that's your job today. All right.
Okay, thank you. I'm really excited to be here, guys. So, like Matt said, sorry, Mr. Smith, I am going to be talking about culinary chemistry, and culinary it's about food and about cooking. And so I'm talking specifically about the science of food and cooking. So just very briefly, my background, I am a chemist. I'm in graduate school right now working on my PhD. I want to be a teacher. So I'm really excited to be here in front of you. I love chemistry and I love cooking. Who here loves food? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Every time you eat food, every time you even look at food, there is chemistry going on, and it is some really interesting stuff. Okay, so next. So culinary chemistry is an absolutely massive subject. Any kind of food that you can think of, spices, flavorings, when you bake stuff, when you boil stuff, that all has chemistry going on. And unfortunately, I don't have like 10 years to talk to you about this, so I'm just going to talk about a few of my favorites. I'm going to talk about chili peppers, chocolate, and unusual, magical, mysterious candy, which hopefully it's actually science, but yeah. Next. Okay, so first I want to talk about chili peppers. Why on earth do they taste hot? Next. Why they taste hot is due to this nifty little molecule called capsaicin. If you've taken any chemistry classes before, you probably know that where these lines intersect, that's where carbons are. So this is just the way that we as chemists draw structures so that we're not like writing out, here are a bunch of carbons, a bunch of hydrogens, but so the carbons and hydrogens here are implied. So this is the structure of capsaicin, and I'm going to go a bit more into it later. Where it comes from is chili peppers. It's mostly concentrated in the seeds and the white pith and some of the membranes around. So like just the middle part. So if you're making like a salsa or something and you want to like really ramp up the heat, you crush those seeds. If you want it to not be that hot, then you just use the outside. So one of the first questions that I asked when I was looking into this was, why on earth would plants make something that is spicy? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But to understand this, we first need to look at the function of fruit. So here, you see this little, I don't know what this is, but cute fruit mammal thing. Eating berries, this bird eating pink cactus pear, and my favorite, this tortoise eating a strawberry. So plants have developed fruit. So I know it's adorable, but I actually have a tortoise that's, he used to be this small. He's like this small. Now he's like this big. But anyway, that's off topic.
Man, Mel.
I know. So why? Anyone have any idea why plants have fruit? It's to be delicious, certainly for us. What else do you think? Think about it in terms of evolution. Yeah.
To spread their seeds around.
Perfect. Perfect. To spread their seeds around. Okay. This is going to tie in, I promise. Next. All right. So and we're gonna get back to that in a minute. But the first theory is that capsaicin was developed as an antifungal agent. And no, I'm not talking about like mushrooms and stuff. But mushrooms are delicious too. I really love food, if you haven't noticed. But as an antifungal agent for the Fusarium fungus, which specifically targets plants. So this is a picture of corn that has been eaten, basically, by this Fusarium fungus. And this is an up-close picture with enhanced color. It doesn't actually look like this, of the Fusarium fungus. The second theory is capsaicin used as a deterrent for mammals, but not birds. Actually, sorry, go back. So, mammals, what's unique about mammals and it's different? Okay, never mind, that's kind of a stupid question. We're very different. So mammals, think about, just grind your teeth around for a little bit. What do you think could happen if you have like a fruit and some seeds in your mouth and you're just grinding it around like that?
The seeds will get destroyed.
Exactly, the seeds could get destroyed. Whereas if you're a bird, you have this little beak, you might eat it whole and you're not going to have that grinding action. So this could have been developed as a deterrent out, because sheep are stupid and they don't know what's best for them, right? So they're gonna go out to like the wolves and anyway. So when it's open, they are going to leave. The farmer, though, knows that they're gonna leave if the gate's open, and so he wants a way to figure out for him to be alerted when this happens. And so he sets up a tricksy little tripwire that the sheep are gonna trip over, that's gonna ring the bell and tell the farmer that the sheep have escaped. So in this analogy, the sheep are the cations, the gate is the ion gate, the bell is the signal to the brain, and the farmer is the brain. So again, that whether, sorry, next. So whether the gate is opened by like wind or by a key, it doesn't matter because the gate's going to be open and the sheep are going to go through. So the cations are going to go through to depolarize the neurons to send a signal to the brain. So in this analogy, the wind is like the forcing the gate open by heat or abrasion, whereas the key is like binding to the gate and causing it to open. They're very different processes, but ultimately they both result in the gate being open, the sheep or the cations coming out, ringing the bell, depolarizing the neuron to send a signal to the brain or to the farmer that something is wrong. Does that make sense to everyone? Is there anything else that I need to clarify there? Okay, sorry, I know it was kind of a leap, but we'll keep going. You may be happy to learn, however, that despite how it feels like your mouth is on fire and you're going to die, capsaicin doesn't usually cause physical damage. In high concentrations, it's another story, but luckily there's not even the most extreme chili lovers and spicy lovers could eat this much, thankfully. Our bodies can, however, respond to it by trying to fix the area it thinks is damaged. So it can perceive that, that there is heat and pain and there's some sort of burn or abrasion where the capsaicin has been applied, and it'll go to inflame that tissue to try and prevent further damage and thereby make it so that you don't get hurt more. But this inflammation can ironically lead to tissue damage. Yeah.
Where it says shown to cause cell damage and death, that's
Yes.
death of cells,
Death
right?
of cells.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, death of cells, not, yeah. I can't remember what the LD50, sorry, LD50 is the lethal dose, but for most compounds, there is an LD50 that they test like on animals, but that's depressing, so we're not going to get into that. Because of this inflammation and the tissue damage and all of that, it's important to use gloves and to never, ever, ever touch your eyes when you are dealing with chili peppers. So I have a funny story. Chili peppers and capsaicin isn't the only molecule that causes this feeling of heat or pain or sensations that our brain tricks us into thinking are something that they're not, if that makes sense. And so a couple of years ago, I'd never tried sushi. Who here likes sushi? Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. I like sushi too. It's delicious. I've never tried sushi, and there I was, and so I tried a California roll, and I saw that there was avocado in there, right? And I love avocado, and I thought there's this green stuff that was so nice of them. They gave me extra avocado. So what I did was I took like a huge spoonful and just like slathered it on, right? Took a bite, thought I was gonna die.
Did
Seriously.
people like gather around when they saw you doing that? Just to watch
I was by myself, and so no one could warn me. Anyway, that did not turn, it turned me off of sushi for a while. I still, to this day, I avoid wasabi. So, anyway.
Have you watched Man vs. Food?
Habits.
So, have you guys seen the one where he's eating, I can't remember where he's at, and he's eating like the hottest wings on the planet?
Yeah.
And he has this rag that he's wiping his hands
That was
on,
Louisiana.
wiping his mouth, and about halfway through, it's this food challenge. If you can eat this plate of wings, get a t-shirt or something. He goes around and does these things.
It's not worth it. T-shirt.
Well, he got his own cable show out of it
Okay,
for doing and he's getting towards the end of the wings, and he's just dying, and he grabs this towel that he's been cleaning his hands and wiping the pepper stuff off of his mouth with, and he wipes the sweat off of his eyes and his face. And in about 1 minute, he's like, "Wah!" Just died.
Yeah, not fun.
So funny.
Not funny. It is funny for like sure those people that find you crazy.
I wouldn't laugh at the average person, but he gets paid for this.
Right,
Why
right.
laugh at him?
Okay, so another question I ask is why do different chili peppers burn in different places in my mouth? Why are some chili peppers more intense? Why do they cause me to feel like my mouth is on fire versus my mouth is just kind of in the oven for at like 200 degrees Celsius rather than, or 200 Fahrenheit rather than like, 1,000. So capsaicin is actually one of the molecules in a whole new family of what are called capsaicinoids. So this, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of blurry up here. But this is what capsaicin looks like. And these are analogs of capsaicin that are also made by chili peppers. So this is 6,7-dihydrocapsaicin, this is nor-dihydrocapsaicin, this is homocapsaicin, and this is homodihydrocapsaicin. Where this motif over here is all the same, but there are just very slight changes in this carbon tail. So when you change the carbon tail, you change the lipophilicity. And lipophilicity is just a fancy word meaning fat lovingness. And so when you have a long chain of carbons, it loves fat. It often appears as an oil. So like butter and olive oil, they have these long carbon chains. And our tissues, we have a lot of. They're very lipophilic as well. And so when you change the lipophilicity, you change how soluble it is in these lipophilic tissues, and so you change how much further it can penetrate into your tongue, for example. So just getting you more layers of the burn. Okay, as I mentioned, some peppers are hotter than others, and this just has to do with the concentration of capsaicinoids. The technical analysis for determining how much of it is in there is called HPLC, so that's high performance liquid chromatography, where it separates compounds based on their polarity. However, for the rest of us, there's the Scoville test, which any of you can do. So, I mean, I'm sure you could do the HPLC too, but that's not nearly as fun as diluting stuff. Anyway, so the Scoville test, it's just a series of successive dilutions. So you take some liquid from the chili pepper and you dilute it in 10 mils of water. Then you take one mil of that, dilute it in 10 more mils of water. Take 1 mil of that, dilute it in 10 more mils of water, until you can just barely taste the heat. And then by some mathematical manipulation, you figure out how many dilutions you did to determine what the Scoville rating is. So this is a diagram of some of the chili peppers and the Scoville scale. So pure capsaicin, it's nasty stuff. 15 to 16 million Scoville units. Okay. Bell peppers, my aunt claims that bell peppers are really spicy. No. 0. That's a big fat 0 on the Scoville scale. Okay. You might also recognize Anaheim, poblano, jalapeno, Thai pepper.
What about ghost chili?
Ghost chilies are up here. Okay. So there are actually contests now to see who can breed and develop the hottest chili pepper in the world. And every year there's a new one that comes out. So I think a couple of years ago, the hottest one was I could be butchering this, but it's boot jalopia. Currently, that was at a maximum of about 1.5 million Scoville units. And again, that's compared to like a jalapeno that's only like 8,000 Scoville units. So that's a huge difference. Currently, the record holder is the Moruga scorpion, which comes in at about 2 million units.
Do people actually eat that?
Yes, people actually eat this. So my more brave than I am, and you might really like the heat. And you might ask, does this, yeah, like Mr. Smith, for example, like, okay, does this make me crazy? Why do I don't know why I would like pain, but apparently some people do. But no, actually euphoria is a pretty common experience for capsaicin consumers. The idea is that they think that a little bit of capsaicin will excite the nervous system into producing endorphins, which make us happy. Okay, so if you're like me, you are more interested in getting rid of the inferno that is in your mouth than you are in adding fuel to the fire. So what can you do to make it stop? A common antidote is water, but it doesn't actually help much. We can figure this out, like why it doesn't help much, by looking at the structure of water and then capsaicin. They think like dissolves like. So this is a picture of water and oil. I'm sure you've all seen the demonstration. They just don't mix. So water and capsaicin, they don't even touch each other. So while, like if you have some ice water that might help with the symptoms, it's actually not going to take away any of the capsaicin. Okay, so what you can go to is milk. It definitely has water in it, but it also has a protein in it called casein, which is shown here. And casein washes away the capsaicin the same way that soap washes away grease. It has a water-loving head and a fat-loving tail. So it surrounds, the fat-loving tail surrounds the fat-loving capsaicin, and has hydrophilic, so the water-loving head that points outward, which is that can then be washed away by the water. Just as an aside though, my personal favorite though is vanilla bean ice cream. That was a joke, guys. I'm failing, I'm sorry. Okay, so one thing you might ask is, does it have any practical applications? I mean, it seems this is a really cool molecule. Shouldn't we be able to use it? And as I revealed earlier, we can use it for pepper spray. It can be made in the laboratory or isolated from chili peppers. And in 2010, the Indian government was reported to be researching chili grenades. So again, using the Bujalokia, so that's not the hottest, but it's one of the hottest, as a non-lethal weapon. And they reported that for hours afterwards, the subjects that they tested it on had trouble breathing and temporary blindness. So not good stuff. Another interesting one is as a pest deterrent. So people will add it to birdseed so that the birds will be able to eat it, because again, they have a different type of ion channel type receptor than mammals do. So they don't experience the heat, whereas mammals do. Yeah.
So my neighbors who attract mice because their bird feeder puts seeds all over their lawn, they
yeah, they could add like some Tabasco sauce, whatever. I did read somewhere that capsaicin has even been used as a deterrent for elephants. I don't know if that's true, but
I tried
it'd be
to
pretty
use
cool.
some insanity sauce to keep my dog from chewing on the wires in my trailer.
Did it work?
It worked for about a week, and then I think the euphoria kicked in.
I know.
He chewed all.
Elephants.
Yeah.
My favorite application though is using capsaicin as a painkiller, which seems it's really odd. It kind of seems counterintuitive. But the thought is that the chronic exposure keeps these neurons containing this ion channel activated, and so that eventually depletes one of the body's neurotransmitters for pain and heat. The effect, though, however, is only temporary. So, by applying a lot of this, you can't become like the superhuman, non-pain feeling superhero. But yeah, but it's really neat, just in terms of the practical applications and some really cool chemistry going on. So next I'm going to talk about chocolate, much sweeter. Oh, sorry, okay. I made a couple of last minute changes to this. So there are other types of molecules that have the same kind of effect. Mint, for example, does the exact opposite. This molecule menthol tricks our brains into thinking that it's cold. And horseradish, like I was talking about, the same stuff that's in wasabi, this isothiocyanate, makes it rather unpleasant, unless you really like that stuff. Okay, now we're going to talk about chocolate. Chocolate. And I do have food for you, but not this isn't it. So this is cocoa butter, and you can touch it, you can in lotions, but like also in food. So I'm just gonna pass this around and you can smell.
Don't take a bite.
Yeah, no taking a bite. This is used for. I took this from my university, but borrowed it. I asked permission and everything. And we use it for a soap making lab. So people's hands have been all over it. You don't want to taste it, I promise. Okay, so first, these cacao pods that grow on this tree in South America are harvested and the seeds are removed. It's okay, just put it back in. Okay, next these beans are fermented. So it's covered with the pulp from extracting the seeds and banana leaves for several days. And here there are a ton of processes going on. There's yeast, there's bacteria, and there's oxidation, all of which lead to increased flavor and aroma. Okay, so after fermenting, they're then roasted. This undergoes the Maillard reaction, where sugars and amino acids, so just two different types of chemicals that are present, they combine to give new aromatic and colorful molecules. So what's interesting, I think, is that the Maillard reaction is also responsible for the color and flavor development when baking breads or grilling steak. You notice how this unbaked bread, it has sort of a white coating, whereas this baked bread, it kind of has this like golden brown. That's the Maillard reaction in action. Oh, cool. Maillard reaction in action. Yeah. Okay. So next, after it undergoes roasting for the further development of these flavors, it then goes through processing. So the shells are removed in this fancy machine here, and the nibs, that's just what's left inside, is ground to create what's called a cocoa liqueur. It's not actually liquor. There isn't any alcohol in this. It's just, that's what they call it. At this point, if they add sugar, they will get semi and bittersweet chocolate. And if they add sugar and milk solids and more cocoa butter, like it's going around, they'll get milk chocolate. If they just dry it, they will get cocoa powder. So that is the process for making some of the different chocolates that we know and love. Okay, another really interesting part of chocolate is tempering it. So when we temper, and you might have heard this before, but you temper chocolate to give it a nice glossy coating and to also get it to have a snap. All right, so cocoa butter, shown here, can be organized into 6 different shapes. And so this is all about crystals. Only one of these shapes, though, has the desirable properties. These are just the different shapes and their melting points, the different crystal structures and their melting points shown. Untempered chocolate has all of the crystal types, and so it won't have these ideal characteristics. The general idea is to heat up the chocolate so that all the crystal types are destroyed, it's all liquid in form. Cool it down to form mostly the type 5 crystals, which are the ones that you want, that have the glossiness, and then to heat it up to almost the melting point of that good chocolate crystal to melt all the other types still present, and then cool it down to form completely the type 5 crystals. And so here what's happening is that if you've ever made like rock candy or anything like that before, it's like the type 5 crystals act like a seed. It's called the initiation point, where the other chocolate says, oh, you have this structure. I think I'll take that structure on too. And so it induces that chocolate to form in the same, form and crystallize in the same way. Another thing that happens with chocolate is that it has fat bloom. So just illustrating my previous point, this is tempered chocolate. You can see the nice glossy sheen. And this is untempered chocolate. So it's kind of dull. It's still delicious, but it's rather dull. This in the middle is chocolate that has blooms. This is scanning electron micrograph. It's just a really close-up, cool picture of that one. So how this happens, first of all, what it is cocoa butter that's crystallized on the surface of the chocolate. So here, I wanted to put this in just to kind of impress you. This is an article in the Journal of Physical Chemistry in 2004 that is characterizing the structure of the fat blooms on chocolate. and it is delicious, there's no argument there. But there is some fascinating stuff going on. So where it comes from is that the fat or cocoa butter that leaks to the surface, so it melts, leaks to the surface, and then recrystallizes to give this structure of fat bloom. So there are a couple of different theories on what actually causes it. Again, this is non-bloom chocolate, this is bloom chocolate. First is phase separation theory, where the triglycerides, so just fats that have lower melting points, will melt from the solid phase to the liquid phase. And because liquids have a higher volume, they're squeezed out to the surface, okay, where they then crystallize. The other theory is polymorphic transformation theory, which I don't really understand, so I'm not going to talk about it. Okay, so now is what I think is going to be your favorite part and my favorite part. I have both of these kinds of candy, Zots and soda can candy. You can take just one piece don't just take one piece. So there's not enough for everyone to have one of each type. Just take one. Yeah.
Is a whole soda can one piece?
Yeah. See, there's little soda cans. So I'm gonna pass this around, and I want you to take on the role of the scientist right now. I want you to open it up and taste it. Maybe chew on it a little bit, and hey, what do you notice? What's unusual?
Or Sprite. Instead of Sprite, it's Sprite.
Sprite was sitting there, and I was just kind of sitting there reading, and he got some Is that Polo?
I want a soda.
That's not
Oh,
orange.
no, this is not orange. Can you take it for an orange?
Don't open it.
Thank you.
My soda turned hard.
Okay, you guys need to quiet back down now. See?
Alright, so as you're eating this, just think, what's happening? What, and I'm so sorry, you're going to have to tell me that I'm having it, but you'll experience it soon. What do you notice that's unusual about this candy?
Like Alka-Seltzer.
It's fizzing, right? Sorry if I spoiled the price for it. It is fizzing, so how the heck is that happening? So this is a zoomed in picture of, this was Skittles that is like fizzled fruits. They sadly don't make it anymore. But this, when you put water on Skittles, you notice the bubbles, okay? So that's the fizzing sensation that you're feeling. You have seen something like this before. Everyone has probably done, or at least seen, the vinegar baking soda volcano, right? And so it is exactly the same process going on. But instead of vinegar, 1 part citric acid, 1 part sodium bicarbonate, 1 part powdered sugar. And I just did one teaspoon of each because you don't want to make a ton. So citric acid, interestingly, that you all had Sour Patch Kids, right?
Yeah.
That's the coating on Sour Patch Kids. That's what makes them sour. When we taste sour, it's acid that we're tasting. So that's why vinegar, it has acetic acid, why it's sour. Okay. So dots and soda can candy are kind of, they're more in the obscure domain of candy. So I did want to mention Pop Rocks briefly. They are totally different. So how they make them is it's actually a patented, it's a patent the way that they make them. So someone has invented this and claimed that I own this and money and all that, right, in the world. So they mix together sugar, water, corn syrup, and flavoring. And this is all boiled to get the water and get rid of the water. This is then mixed with carbon dioxide gas under high pressure that this then creates bubbles in the candy. So when it's melted, so it's like smashed, and then when it melts in your mouth, the carbon dioxide gas is then released with a pop, and so that's what gives the popping sensation. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. There are so many other interesting things that are happening with culinary chemistry. There are other questions that I would encourage you to investigate if it interests you, like how does yeast work? Why is bread formed? Why do onions make you cry? How does dough work? Why are some flavors good together while other flavors are just gross? How does cheese making work? And why do apples turn brown when cut? These are all questions that you can answer with a little bit of science. And thank you for your attention. We'd love to take your questions. Yes, but I would like to let you guys do the investigation.
Yeah.
You can just Google it. Seriously, Google it. Awesome. Google it. You will find the answer.
What made you interested in studying this topic? What made you interested in studying that? What made you interested in studying this topic?
Studying chemistry or chemistry?
Yeah, culinary chemistry.
Whatever.
I mean, cola. Yeah.
Yes. I love food and I love chemistry and just seeing, like, understanding how things actually work and seeing that there's reasoning behind all of these processes is just very interesting to me. I love being able to, hey guys, can I get you all to quiet down, please? Thanks. We'll have plenty of time to talk afterwards because it's still a little bit of time. So just seeing how things work and being able to say, okay, this is why I'm adding this in this order. This is how this works. This is what's happening.
You know why there's only theories on how the chocolate, the blue chocolate happens?
How sorry, did you repeat?
Do you know why there's only theories for why blue chocolate happens?
Like when they haven't found out definitively.
Yeah.
There's a whole, like there's a 30-page article on like the different theories of this and what supports one theory and what supports the other. So often in science, what we have are theories. We can't definitively prove some things because oftentimes there are lots of different processes going on and it's just too complex to narrow it down to one single one. But that's a great question.